This is the Sports Timeout Podcast with Jordan Atkins, Dr. DePoe, and your host, Wes Underwood.
It's that time again, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Timeout Podcast, brought to you by Blondie's Woodfire Wheelhouse Food Truck. If you're looking for a caterer for your next big event, or just want to grab some pizza, find them on Facebook. Just search for Blondie's Woodfire Wheelhouse. I missed them the other day. They were here in Webb City, and Tony, I think you'd like them if you haven't had them yet. They're usually out at Flag City Brewery, so...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'm over 300 pounds, and so I love pizza. Pizza's my favorite food.
It's so
growing
good.
up. So I'm going to have to try them sometime.
Yeah, and everybody welcome in Tony once again. And, well, we're going to begin in the MLB, and, well, yeah, you guessed it. Salvi Watch, once again. Last week we talked about how he should be in the MVP race yet again, and, well, he continues to not prove me wrong. He puts up another good week, 3 home runs thus far, still has the weekend to go against the Mariners in Kansas City, and, yeah, he tied Guerrero Jr. for the MLB home run lead. He tied Johnny Bench's 51-year home run record for a catcher at 45 home runs last night in a season, by the way. That's just a season, not the career. And then, he now also becomes one of 9 players in MLB history to win 5 Gold Gloves, 7+ All-Star appearances, and a 43 home run season. Do you know any of the 9, Tony, by chance?
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't. I'm not a big baseball guy myself, but just based off of that, if he's one of 9 people to do that, I think it solidifies his place in the Hall of Fame. Which a question last year. Last week.
Yeah, last week indeed, Hall of Fame worthy, and he's proven it. He ties a guy in Johnny Bench, Hall of Fame. Griffey, Hall of Fame. Bonds, I think, will be Hall of Fame. Previously, and obviously, Perez. I've got 5 of them I just read there, and they have 9. I'm going to have to do some more research, though. I feel kind of out of the loop here as a baseball buff. But, it is what it is. And continuing into the MLB, we now talk Roberto Clemente as he had his day this week. And, well, the topic up at hand is, should they retire Roberto Clemente's number 21 throughout the MLB? As many of you may know, he has an award named after him, which goes to a player who goes above and beyond like Clemente did in his career and throughout and even after, before his death. And then it shows great character on and off the field as a player as well. So, statistically, Clemente was definitely a Hall of Famer, which is why he's in there. We all know that as he was inducted, and again, with everything that he did on and off the field for communities and other players, to get an award named after you for something like that, like, the Walter Payton Man of the Year award in the NFL, no doubt in my mind, he should have his number retired as well. Just like Jackie Robinson did, he had a lot to do for the game, and Jackie Robinson has his number retired for many great reasons. Many, many great reasons. And then, if this would have been an award during Robinson's days, he probably would have earned this as well. So, but I do believe Roberto Clemente's number should be retired as well. You agree here?
Yeah, just based off what you've been telling me, how much he did for the Hispanic community, and, you compare him to Jackie Robinson, him doing, stuff on and off the field, displaying his character. You say that he's similar like that. So, and on top of that, you say he has an award named after him. I don't see that as a negative thing whatsoever.
Indeed. Agreed there. Both in agreement. And, well, the MLB was kind of quick there, but we got a lot to get to here in the NFL, and that's where we're heading next. Exciting first week in football.
Man, yes.
What were your takeaways, Tony?
But just starting last Thursday.
Yeah.
Great game. I'm glad the Bucs were able to pull that one through. I know we touched on it last week, but I was pleasantly surprised on how good, unpleasantly surprised on how good the Cowboys did.
Yeah.
The Raiders and Ravens game, that was a great game as well. Went into overtime. Huge roller coaster of emotions. The whole time I was leaning towards the Raiders, but I don't have anything against the Ravens either. But, who knows? Do you personally think that the injuries affected the Ravens negatively to the point that you think they would have won if maybe they didn't have 2 out of the 4 injuries? You think so?
Yeah, I do. I really do. He looked very uncomfortable back there, and with a new guy on the offensive line, Lamar Jackson, the he I'm talking about, he did not look comfortable, and he looked very shaky.
Yeah. I thought, honestly, compared to watching him the last few years play, I think he actually played a little bit better than I expected him to.
Yeah.
He was actually able to complete some passes. Usually he throws them about 10 feet over your head.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think he played pleasantly, better than I thought he was going to do.
Okay.
The Cleveland-Kansas City game.
Oh, man.
That was a really good game.
Don't even get me started.
I know you're a Chiefs fan. I really thought the Cleveland was going to win. But, and Cleveland was winning literally 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And, just comes to show that you have to play good football all 4 quarters. Otherwise,
Mahomes is going to beat you.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes you pay, and the Chiefs' defense came clutch, and that's all you can ask for.
And I think besides the Chiefs, the Bucs, probably the only other team that can actually make a comeback like the Chiefs did.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston, I know we touched on him a little bit last week.
Did he not look good?
He looked great.
Yeah.
I think him and Aaron Rodgers switched roles.
Oh, man, no doubt.
But honestly, man, I just think that it's just the fact that Aaron Rodgers just doesn't want to play for Green Bay no more. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is washed up or anything.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying that he is. He just doesn't want to play for them. And
you don't think it's the man bun?
It may not help, but I don't know. I don't know if you've seen the pictures or not, but Aaron Rodgers looks rough. I think he's just under a lot of stress. I don't think he enjoys playing for them either.
Nope.
Another thing that before I forget is that Tom Brady also mentioned that Gronk. He has it's like we mentioned something about the old Gronk being back.
Yeah.
Saying that
I believe it.
Well, I agree. I think it was kind of a jab at Bill Belichick.
A little bit.
Just because apparently, obviously I've never been coached by Bill Belichick, but he seems like a very strict guy.
A lot of jabs this week from Tom Brady, by the way.
Yeah. Are you talking about him trolling Atlanta?
Yes. I mean, it's terrible, but it is hilarious.
Yeah. No. I thought it was hilarious. I don't know if it was actually meant to be like that because Man, I had to watch the video like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. To get it.
To understand what was going on. Yeah, I was. So, I'm just, I guess, not super observant, but it could just be a coincidence that he happened to record it at 3:28.
It's true.
But, yeah, no, it is funny if he did, do that. A lot smarter than I am, that's for sure.
Yeah. 2 guys that stuck out to me, too, again. Goff looked good. Stafford looked good. Rams, obviously that's where Stafford went in the Goff trade, and Goff went to the Lions, and both of them looked really good. I mean, Goff, I feel like put up the most points in fantasy. In one of my leagues, he had 60 points, and I was just kind of like, how did he do that? And he didn't have any better statistics than Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, but somehow they gave him 60 points on fantasy, and he was on my bench instead of starting. So,
man, I had Patrick Mahomes in my league. I'm only part of one league this year, and and the only person to outscore him was Matt Stafford, and that happened to be the guy that I played against. He had Matt Stafford, so I ended up losing that game, unfortunately. But yeah, Matt Stafford balled out. Who stuck out to me this week is Tom Brady.
Okay.
Simply just, he's a 44-year-old guy.
Yeah.
He mentioned, I don't know if today or yesterday, about him saying he's going to play till 50.
Yeah. Son's coming after his job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he does make it to 50, there's a good chance that him and his son may be playing against each other.
Maybe even together. Who knows?
Yeah. Starter and backup. Who knows? But yeah, that's impressive for his age.
And not too impressive again. Chiefs defense. They came in clutch though. I'll give it to him. Jackson and the Ravens. Jackson got beat up a lot. Speaking of those two teams, next we talk Baltimore and Kansas City. Lamar saying it's not about him and Mahomes, yet everyone else disagrees. Mahomes is 3-0 versus Jackson so far. The Ravens like the blitz, which could be a potential factor. And you know what? Again, Mahomes 3-0 against Jackson and the Ravens like that blitz. And, well, last year Patrick Mahomes completed 19 of 26 passes against that blitz with 3 touchdowns. Jackson is a dual-threat quarterback, just like Mahomes, who can pass, but he can run just a little bit faster than Mahomes and is a little bit more agile. He had over 1,000 yards on the ground last season. And, Tony, you said last week that they still have their run game, and I believe you. I mean, I think it's correct. He had 69 yards on the ground against Oakland, but after last week's game, he didn't look comfortable. We kind of just touched on that a little bit, and he got hurried quite a bit. He doesn't look comfortable versus the rush. The Chiefs bring back Frank Clark this week, possibly Willie Gay. I think he's out a little bit longer. And then we'll see Tyrann Mathieu as well. And you know what? Big game changers for the Chiefs right there to come back. And then we mentioned, again, Mahomes 3-0 versus Jackson. Well, Chris Jones in those 3 games for the Chiefs, who's also on that Chiefs defense with Frank Clark this week, he has 2 sacks and 3 forced fumbles against Jackson. And, well, without the extra run game, which we touched on there too, it can get pretty predictable, as the Raiders proved it and made Jackson fumble in the 4th quarter. So, with all that being said, who you got here in this game this week? I feel like this is the game of the week. And
yeah, unfortunately, I don't like I've said before, I don't like the Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs are going to end up running away with it.
Yeah.
Can they pressure Mahomes in order to do bad? If you look at the Super Bowl game, really that's what happened. The Chiefs lost their O-line. With it being such a young O-line, maybe the blitz game is going to cause a little bit of, dysfunction in there. And who knows? Anything is possible. They're all pro athletes. We've seen games where the worst team in the NFL ends up beating the best team in the NFL. It just depends how they come out that night. Lamar Jackson, I think if they can fix a few of those issues, I think they'll do fine. They played a pretty clean game last week against the Raiders. The Raiders really played a super. I don't want to say they're dirty, because they weren't dirty. It was just there was a lot too many penalties, and penalties will lose you games. And
typical Raiders game.
Yeah, I really thought that they were going to lose simply just because of all the penalties.
Yeah.
But they were able to get the win regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Like I said, I'm going to go with the Chiefs on this one, but I think they have a fighting chance.
Okay. And lastly, in the NFL, we talk Saints again to finish out. 10 players on the injured list this week, as Lattimore is out due to surgery on his hand, and then starting center Eric McCoy down due to an injured calf. And then back to the defense, though. 7 guys down on that defense, 2 of them on the line, 5 in the backfield. Should the Saints be worried come Sunday, or should they be okay relying on Jameis Winston just chucking the ball and going at it?
Man, yeah, I believe they should be a little bit worried. But, playing football for a good majority of my life, is always the next man up. And, they're pros. They get paid millions of dollars to step up and to ball out. I don't obviously, the starter's always going to be a little bit better for a reason. He's a starter for some reason. So, I do think they should be worried. But this is, there's 10 people on that roster that have the opportunity of a lifetime to earn a spot. So who knows? Maybe they all ball out.
That'd be good for them. And congratulations once again to Jameis Winston, who we talked about earlier in the show. 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns. He balled it. He did good.
Yeah, I think he sucked the energy out of Aaron Rodgers.
He did. And we move into college football now and talk USC. And USC really hasn't had a strong coach since Pete Carroll left in 2009. I mean, at Oregon, now at LSU, left after 1 year. Head coach Lane Kiffin lasted a couple years. I'm not quite sure USC is really a destination for anybody anymore as a coach. I mean, they have reached out to Urban Meyer, and he said, as you said, that he doesn't want to leave his team in the Jaguars. He's just getting started there. And then also Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, who expressed that he would return to his home state and coach at some point, but came out this week and said he's focusing on the Chiefs right now. Smart move. He's a guy that I can believe when he says his word is usually pretty reliable. But come season's end, I do see Bieniemy leaving the Chiefs. I really, really do. He wants that head coaching job, and he deserves it. Why he hasn't gotten one in the NFL yet, it really baffles my mind. I'm not quite sure what your thoughts on this are, Tony, but do you agree or do you have anything to add?
Well, I think both of their responses is very professional and really what they should be. You don't want to leave a team hanging dry midway, or in this case, right at the beginning of the season, simply just because, I believe in loyalty and I respect both coaches for saying that they're not going to. In fact, Urban Meyer said that it's not a chance and that he's committed fully to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with both their decisions. Will he leave at the end of the season? Possibly. I think every coach's dream is to one day become a head coach. And if they offer it to him at the end of the season, I don't see why he wouldn't take it.
Agree. And lastly, in college football, the new rule for college transfers that allowed them to transfer once without sitting out now gets a possible addition for football, and that is programs could be allowed to go over their 25-player signing limit, extending it to 32, which means if 7 players were to transfer, they would have an additional 7 spots to allow those guys to come in and take so they can keep their original 25. But as of right now, the original 25 is it, and they can't bring in other players currently. Do you think they should get this extension?
I don't know of any negative reason for them not to get the extension.
Okay.
That just gives 7 more people per team the opportunity to be on a football team. There's plenty of walk-ons that on teams all around the nation that would love for that to be the case. That they were, just a little bit shy of making the scholarship roster. I don't see nothing wrong with it.
All right. We now head into the 2-minute warning brought to you by 4th Street Bowl in Joplin. Go see Will and his crew, and again, check out the new upgrades also. And, we'll now talk Friday Night Lights and talk local matchups. First up, we have 3-0 Joplin playing host to 2-1 Carl Junction. Always right, the quarterback for Joplin looks good this far, as I see him having a 300-yard game this week as Joplin pulls away after a close first half to improve to 4-0. Agree here or disagree?
I would agree. But Carl Junction's not a pushover either. I think that they could make a statement. They could at least make it close.
Okay. Agree there. It will be a fun game to watch, there's no doubt. Then next we have 2-1 Webb City heading to 3-0 Carthage. This game was canceled last year due to COVID. I like this matchup. Lots of hype. I say the Cards pull it out and move to 3-1, and Carthage drops down to 3-1. Agree here too?
Yeah, man. Last year that game should have not been canceled, just because a player happened to get COVID.
Yeah.
And then he ends up playing the next week.
Mm-hmm.
There was some fishiness too. I think really they were just trying to win the COC, in my opinion, and then they got destroyed in the playoffs.
They did. And lastly, we have Neosho 0-3 heading to 1-2 Branson. Now, I don't like to do this, but I love seeing football in Southwest Missouri thrive. But 71-14 lost last week, and that was Neosho against Carthage. Something good has to happen soon for Neosho, right? I mean, 0-15 in their last 15 games. Could Branson and Neosho be a fun game? Yes, but I really want to see some life out of Neosho this week.
Yeah, I do too. I think that honestly, I'm gonna go for the underdog in this case. I'm gonna go say the Neosho wins. Historically, neither one Branson nor Neosho are usually powerhouses when it comes to football. But I can see Neosho winning this one.
All right, and we'll finish out with the local sports update brought to you by Jefferson's. Come join Billy and his crew for happy hour from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and football out of the way. Next up, we have softball. Webb City will head to Carl Junction next Tuesday and will play at 7 p.m. Joplin will take on Seneca at home on Monday. Carl Junction will head to Monette Monday, and Neosho will head to Carthage on Tuesday. Then in volleyball, the Lady Eagles will head to Webb City on Tuesday night to face the Cardinals at 6:30 p.m., but Webb City will first head to El Dorado Springs, Missouri tomorrow and will play at 3 p.m. And Carthage will be heading to the MoCan tournament tomorrow. Their first game is at 9:30 a.m. and the tournament will end Saturday at 2 p.m. They will then head to Carl Junction next Tuesday, which will start at 4:30 p.m. That's when Carl Junction will also play next. On to local college sports. MSSU football will head to Central Oklahoma tomorrow for their third game of the season, and the game will tip off at 7 p.m. Pitt State University football will head to Tahlequah, Oklahoma to face the Riverhawks at 6 p.m. MSSU volleyball, they will play host to the Newman Jets tonight at 6 p.m. and tomorrow at 3 p.m. they will play host to Pittsburgh State University, and PSU volleyball will also play host to Central Oklahoma tonight at 6 p.m. MSSU softball will open its season today in a doubleheader against Fort Scott Community College. The first game will begin at 4 p.m. with Game 2 to follow. Lots of sports back in action, and Tony, you got some fight updates, don't you?
Yes, sir. So I mentioned a few fighters by name last week.
Yeah.
Marshall Potter, he ended up winning. Very good fight. He won it by unanimous decision, though. We also have Theron, the Midwest Maniac.
Uh-huh.
He ended up winning by knockout. Man,
nice.
I guess apparently before the fight, the other guy was cussing at him and stuff and calling him some mean words, you could say. And so there was... he said that there wasn't really, you didn't really let him get under his skin, but he just, he found it funny.
Yeah.
So he ended up knocking him out. Hopefully the guy learned his lesson.
Yeah.
Also, TJ Bad News Britain.
Yes.
He won. Also, a little bit of animosity built up there. TJ is devout Christian and super loving of everybody.
Yes.
The other guy that he fought was literally the total opposite of what TJ is. Also ended up winning by knockout.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroyed him. So good job, TJ. And lastly, Joseph, G.I. Joe Carricker, he won. It went the whole fight. It was a really good fight the whole time. It was kind of close in the beginning, but the last 2 or 3 rounds, Joe ended up getting away and ended up performing very well. And he ended up proposing to his girlfriend, now fiance.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
After the fight.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Can't wait for the next one.
Man, TJ, if you're listening this week, shout out to you. We need to get you back on this show, and Tony, go ahead and invite these guys on anytime you want. I do not mind at all. I love pumping local athletes. So.
Yeah, man. I'll reach out to them, and I know that they listened to it last week because I told them about it, and so hopefully this gets them excited to come out and talk out.
Awesome. And, of course, all these games and boxing matches and fighting matches going on and, everything in general sports-wise is weather pending and pending to the current and fluid COVID-19 situation. And, the music is here again, and It's the end of another episode for Tony and myself. Have a great and safe weekend and enjoy lots of football yet again. And if you're going to volleyball, enjoy that as well. See y'all next week on the Sports Timeout Podcast.